A countless number of wrestlers have performed for WWE, and it is quite normal to forget some of them, which is why in this video we are going to look at 10 PG era WWE superstars that you may not remember, according to this video. We'll see. Let's go.
When you think of WWE's PG era, what immediately comes to mind? Crap comedy? Can I say crap? Is that PG? How about Big Show crying or turning or crying while he turns on someone? Or perhaps you instinctively flash to PG poster boy John Cena's infinite collection of garish t-shirts. One thing, or actually 10 things, you likely won't think of are the following PG era superstars, as you will have a hard time recalling them being there in the first place. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WWE PG era stars you don't remember.
This is a challenge, by the way.
Join us. Number 10, Courtney Taylor. Like many so-called WWE divas of the era, Courtney Taylor came from a modeling background, having appeared in the pages of Playboy on multiple occasions. I can confirm this because I've seen the evidence with my own eyes. Not only that, but Taylor, real name Beverly Mullins, was a member of the prestigious Hooters Hall of Fame. A fan of the business who cited her hero growing up as Stone Cold Steve Austin, she reported to FCW in 2008 and was given her fair share of go-nowhere gimmicks prior to being called up to the main roster. Though she wrestled down in Florida, she was brought up to Maine to briefly act as a backstage interviewer for the drain-circling ECW brand. Her most memorable moment on WWE television was probably when she chased somebody in a tiger costume through the arena with a golf club on the December 21st, 2009 episode of Raw, just like her hero Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I get why I don't remember it, because from the date, we used to get wrestling, the 1 hour versions that they show, you know, that's what we used to get there around the time. I will make a video about what it was like to be a wrestling fan in Ghana, but yeah. That's probably the reason I don't remember her, because I never really saw her on TV.
That was really as good as it got for Taylor, who was released from her WWE contract on April 14th and subsequently retired from the business. Number 9, Camacho.
Oh, who does not remember Camacho? He was the guy that played fake Sin Cara. No, was he? No, but he used to ride the you know, like the Make Schools 2.0 anyway.
You know when you grow up telling everyone that your dad is harder than the other kid's dad, and what's more, he's actually the hardest dad in the whole entire world? Well, former WWE star Camacho could truthfully claim that because he is the son of Haku. Not that you'd know it based on his WWE run, of course, because he certainly didn't play up the connection or get into any fights where he ripped a guy's nose off. Following a successful tryout, Tavita Fafita spent the requisite couple of years in developmental doing a little of this and that before landing on the main roster as the Latino gangster buddy of Hunico. If you remember anything about the duo, it is likely their...
I mixed up Hunico and Camacho. Hunico, I believe, was the one who played fake Sin Cara before the real Sin Cara came back, that storyline in 2011. And then Hunico plays the real Sin Cara up to the time of his release in like 2019. So yeah.
Entrance, which saw them ride to the ring on a blinged out bicycle.
That's
because otherwise the pairing was unremarkable and spent most of their time doing the honors for other, more over
They had a cool
teams.
theme song though.
Hunico would fare slightly better after donning the Sin Cara mask again, while Camacho found himself down in NXT feuding with Adam Rose before being released. Number 8, Kailyn Croft. Chris Pavoni first signed with WWE in 2003 when he was stationed in Ohio Valley Wrestling and won not only the OVW Tag Team titles, but also the OVW Heavyweight title during his 3-year stay.
Well, that's
For the man known as Chris Cage, however, his WWE dream...
That belt is literally a clear ripoff of the Winged Eagle WWE belt. Anyway, WWF, I should say. I don't know. These things are hard to keep up with.
During his 3-year stay. For the man known as Chris Cage, however, his WWE dream would come to a temporary end in March of 2006 when he was released following what was described as an outside-the-ring nightlife incident that saw him end up in the hospital. It was quite the fall from grace for a performer who had been pegged as an original member of M&M before an injury intervened to the benefit of Joey Mercury. He was re-signed not too long after and began working in FCW, where he was rechristened Kailyn Croft. Must have had a contractually obligated double C name clause in his contract. He and his Dude Busters tag partner Trent Beretta were brought to the main roster, where they were placed where else on the ECW brand. Though the team was talented, they had about as many distinguishable features as Morph, with an ordinary look, cookie cutter name, and a wrestling style right out of the WWE Farm System playbook. Number 7, Michael Tarver.
Tarver was in the Nexus. Tarver was in the Nexus. Also, here's an interesting thing about Tarver. He was actually part of Floyd Mayweather's WrestleMania 24 entourage. I think he got hit by the Big Show at some point in the aisle. It was kind of funny, but I did see him from there.
The Nexus invasion of the summer of 2010 was a breath of fresh air at a rather creatively stagnant time, as the band of rebel rookies shook up the status quo and launched themselves into the main event mix with a series of powerful attacks on some of WWE's untouchables.
Oh yeah.
Most of the Nexus, save for the quickly canned Daniel Bryan, were unproven commodities at the time, but would come good in the end. Except for Michael Tarver. It feels a bit mean to single him out from the original group, but the truth is that Tarver was only around for a few months and was easily the weakest member as far as in-ring work was concerned.
Yes.
He had a decent look and was a serviceable mouthpiece, but that wasn't going to be enough for him to get by in the long run, and it wasn't much of a surprise when he was released not too long after getting booted out of the Black and Yellow group. Reflecting on his run a decade later, Tarver claims that he was buried when he got to the main roster, and that one man in particular, let's just say it rhymes with Don Gina, held him back.
Of course.
Number 6, Ryan Braddock.
No, I don't remember him.
Knock knock, who's there? My name's Ryan Braddock and I'm gonna knock... No, wait, hold on a second. That was a different nondescript no-hoper who came and went in the summer of 2008. Though to be fair to Ryan Braddock, he did manage to participate in 7 whole televised matches, 6 on SmackDown and 1 on ECW, before being taken off TV and sent back to developmental before his inevitable release. Braddock had been in the company's farm system for 3 years before he got his call-up, having toiled in Deep South Wrestling, OVW, and FCW. Despite training in 3 different WWE feeder leagues, the company clearly weren't convinced by his abilities and had him doing job duty from the get-go, though he did score a DQ win over Festus after being wrapped in bubble wrap and duct tape. Braddock's issue, like so many of his ilk, was that...
Festus is Lou Gallows. I can't believe they gave him that role, and it was so funny how you just had to ring a bell and he would just freak out. They actually fed him to Undertaker during his world title run. So that was funny.
Absolutely nothing about him stood out. He was just a wrestler in a pair of trunks and boots with a boring name and by-the-numbers wrestling style. Which is why these days he feels right at home as a member of the NWA roster. Kidding, calm down. Number 5, Ricky Ortiz.
Don't remember
Richard
him.
Young was the exact sort of athlete that WWE coveted once upon a time, the kind of guy you can just see Jim Ross chomping at the bit to get a stat sheet report on before crowing about his tremendous upside. A 6'4", 250-pound former NFL and XFL player, Young signed a developmental contract in 2006 and reported to OVW, where he was christened Atlas de Bone. Touted as one of the system's brightest prospects, Young debuted as a member of the ECW brand in the summer of 2008 as Atlas Ortiz, though that was quickly changed to Ricky. The Latin assassin got off to a decent start and was booked to go on a singles winning streak, but when WWE had Jack Swagger break it, Ortiz began to flounder. A trade to SmackDown in 2009's supplemental draft didn't change the course, and he was released after being used as a jobber to the stars. Ricky Ortiz may have had all of the physical tools, but ultimately he failed to stand out from the crowd. Luckily for him, his physical tools were enough for former WWE star Layla, who ended up marrying him. I mean, that's the real world title, isn't it? Number 4, Eric Escobar.
I remember Eric Escobar, but wow. Well, love is interesting, isn't it?
After rising to being a world title star in his native Puerto Rico, Eric Perez was signed to a developmental deal in the summer of 2005, the company no doubt encouraged by the success of his countryman Carlito.
Yeah.
4 years split between Deep South and FCW were fruitful as he won both groups' tag titles as well as the FCW heavyweight title. His September 2009 promotion to the main roster saw him aligned with Vicky Guerrero, which must have
Very
filled
briefly.
Perez, now going by Eric Escobar, with confidence. After all, Vicky had been involved in some major storylines, was a bona fide heat magnet, and had seconded the likes of Edge at a main event level.
But it didn't
Things
work.
got off to a good start as he beat Matt Hardy in his debut match, immediately securing himself a spot on Team Blue at the Bragging Rights pay-per-view. A couple of weeks later, however, he was removed from the match, and not long after that, his union with Vicky was axed.
Yes.
After being punished by Guerrero with a series of handicap matches and a bout with Kane, Escobar disappeared and was quickly released amid rumors that his not insignificant yet fleeting push had been sabotaged by someone backstage.
Really?
Number 3, Mason Ryan.
Mason Ryan, the Batista lookalike. He was, I think one of his biggest performances was Survivor Series 2011. But yeah, Mason Ryan he had a banger theme song too, at least per my standard.
When knee injuries put an end to a promising football career, Welsh Adonis Barry Griffith set his sight on pro wrestling instead. Right, while we're on the subject, just why do athletes who are forced to quit proper sports turn to the graps anyway? Because it's so notoriously easy on the body? Nobody ever gets hurt taking bumps 200 nights a year, do they? Anyway, Barry certainly had the superstar look, and after training for a couple of years in FCW, was called up to the main roster as Mason Ryan.
This is Batista mixed with Hugh Jackman. Look at that face.
Look at that face!
Be a member of the new Nexus, making a debut statement by interfering in a match between CM Punk and John Cena.
Yep.
You couldn't miss the muscle man, but beyond his bulging physique, there simply wasn't a lot there to keep fans' attention. Injuries didn't help, but Big Mason never quite put it all together, and WWE obviously felt that he needed more seasoning, eventually sending him to the rebooted developmental version of NXT.
Yeah.
Unlike Batista, who he was often, perhaps unfairly, compared to, Ryan never quite figured it out, and WWE eventually cut bait. As well as performing in Cirque du Soleil, his name lives on through song. Number 2, Oksana.
Oksana was Cesaro's former valet. She also had a thing to do with Teddy Long at one point. It was like Teddy Long's girlfriend. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, Oksana is not very hard to remember, I don't think.
A former professional bodybuilder from Lithuania who possessed a striking femme fatale look, Oksana certainly made a bold first impression.
She
The
could
former
change
FCW
looks up
Divas
really
champion
quickly
was
too.
called up after about a year in developmental to participate in the all-female season of NXT The Game Show, placing a respectable fourth while being engaged literally in a storyline with her pro Goldust. Her fortunes on the main roster were
there it
mixed
is.
as she was once
Teddy Long.
again placed in a romance storyline with Teddy Long and Antonio Cesaro,
There
the
we go.
latter of whom she managed for a short time.
Yeah.
Once their European Union came to an end, no Brexit jokes please, Oksana's luck fluctuated and she got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
She actually had an odd charisma about her and noticeably improved between the ropes as time went on. But the era was not kind to WWE's fighting females of the day, and Oksana was typically used to enhance other women that the promotion had bigger plans for,
She left in
rarely getting
2015 or
significant
so.
opportunities of her own. An alliance with Alicia Fox was not enough to save her, and Oksana was released to make space for the incoming stars of NXT.
There it is.
Number 1, Sim Snuka.
Sim. Oh boy. Snuka's name is very familiar. But I don't remember him doing much on TV. But his name is very familiar.
For the child of a parent considered legendary in some circles, it must be tough trying to carry on the legacy.
Oh, yeah, this dude.
fact is true in wrestling, where we see time and time again a second or third generation talent fail to live up to the
Really worked out.
expectations placed on them by fans to live up to their famous name.
Yep.
Luckily for James Snuka, son of Hall of Famer Jimmy Superfly Snuka, his big break came with the benefit of a name and gimmick
Oh,
that
Deuce and
disguised his
Domino.
roots. As Deuce,
Yeah.
Deuce, he had a solid 18 months months on SmackDown, where he won the tag team titles and was involved in notable storylines and matches.
Yep.
It was when he and Domino split that the trouble started. Drafted to Raw and repackaged as Snuka, he had 5 forgettable matches where he showed nothing to suggest that he could make it on his own. The fact that he wasn't added to the Legacy stable spoke volumes, and the last straw for Snuka came when he, disguised as a cameraman, failed to catch the Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. Causing the respected locker room leader to fall on his head at the biggest show of the year, eh? Way to go, douche.
Yep. I remember now. I remember where I heard the name, because I used to hear in certain interviews that I think Undertaker and HBK used to do, you would hear the name Sim occasionally. But yeah, I do remember Sim Snuka to some degree, the Deuce and Domino stuff. I did see a shot of Manu, who joined Legacy for a brief period. I think he would have been a great fit for this video rather than Oksana, you know. Anyway, comment down below, let me know what you thought about this video. Please do give that like, subscribe to the channel. Check out this video that YouTube thinks you like. Enjoy it. I'll see you in another one. Peace, my G's.